Romans 1:13, I want you to know, dear brothers and sisters, that I planned many times to visit you, but I was prevented until now. I want to work among you and see spiritual fruit, just as I have seen among other Gentiles. Romans 1:14, for I have a great sense of obligation to the people in both the civilized world and the rest of the world, to the educated and the uneducated alike. So I am eager to come to you in Rome too, to preach the good news. 2 Timothy 4:6, as for me, my life has already been poured out as an offering to God. The time of my death is near. 2 Timothy 4:7, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. Paul in the text above is anticipating his death. Tradition tells us that Paul was beheaded by Nero. What we know for sure is that Paul lived the life that he called upon others to live. He was no hypocrite. Next we have the journey to Rome. That's chapters 27 and 28. In Acts 27 and 28, Paul goes to Rome, so you are probably thinking that since Paul is right in the center of God's will, that he will have smooth sailing, right? Well, think again. Acts 27:4. Putting out to sea from there, we encountered strong headwinds that made it difficult to keep the ship on course. So we sailed north of Cyprus, between the island and the mainland. For the Christian, strong headwinds is often evidence you are going in the right direction. Paul's life after his conversion was constant opposition. Paul is put on an even bigger ship, but the headwinds worsened. Acts 27:7, we had several days of slow sailing, and after great difficulty, we finally neared Cnidus. But the wind was against us, so we sailed across to Crete and along the sheltered coast of the island, past the Cape of Salmone. We struggled along the coast with great difficulty and finally arrived at fair havens, near the town of Lasea. We had lost a lot of time. The weather was becoming dangerous for sea travel because it was so late in the fall, and Paul spoke to the ship's officers about it. So how are we to know if the headwinds against us are the providential hindrances of God or dark opposition? Acts 23:11, that night the Lord appeared to Paul and said, be encouraged, Paul. Just as you have been a witness to me here in Jerusalem, you must preach the good news in Rome as well. Paul had clear direction from God, but there were times when he didn't know for sure, and neither do we. What do we do then? It's okay not to know for certain, for that is when we get to knock, seek, and ask, and then rely on our faith. Never let headwinds determine your path. If you wait until conditions are perfect, you may never move forward at all. Acts 28:16, when we arrived in Rome, Paul was permitted to have his own private lodging, though he was guarded by a soldier. The trip to Rome was treacherous, even included a shipwreck and Paul being bitten by a snake. He was chained to a Roman soldier, and one can only imagine what happened to that soldier as he pondered Paul and his message of salvation through faith in Christ. Points to ponder. Tradition tells us that Paul was beheaded by Nero. For the Christian, strong headwinds is often the evidence you are going in the right direction. Paul often had clear direction from God, but there were other times when he didn't know if he was hearing from God or not. This class, and indeed the entire school, is dedicated to helping others see that God is bigger than we think and better than we know. To get to the next video, make a note of the class number for this recording. Then search for the next one. Here's a sample. If this video is number L01.1, then the next one is L01.2. And remember to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow on Rumble.